Hi everyone, my name is V2 Java and I'm the CEO of PPC Ninja. I am super excited to be here at the Unleash AI for Business Summit. I do have a slide deck prepared for you, so let me jump right in. Okay, let me start with a quick introduction. So, I started my e commerce journey on Etsy in 2010. I'm an engineer by background with a focus on data science. I run PPC Ninja, which is an advertising agency in the Amazon advertising space. I've been a speaker at several events like the Amazon Accelerate, the Prosper Show, the Billion Dollar Seller Summit. I've also been a winner at several BDSS events. I'm committed to sharing my knowledge with the community. And I also run an AI for e-commerce weekly newsletter, and you can find the QR code for that right there. So today I'm going to be talking about how we use AI to automate workflows and save hours of team time. I know that AI saves my team at least 500 hours each month. So we've done this in several ways. One is just by creating workflows that take the input of one process and feed it into another. That's the most simplest way. The other is by setting up triggers that watch for certain events, such as triggers that read your emails and give you alerts based on certain conditions and criteria. And then we also use AI for generating code, which then runs these processes automatically. So let me break some of those examples down for you and show you how we use AI for our creatives, for listings, for workflow automations, and just to improve our productivity overall. One of the things that I learned early on is that if I'm repeating a task more than 3 times, then it's best to automate it. And right now, it's so easy to automate tasks with AI. So just think about anything that you do on a periodic basis. It just doesn't make sense to invest one-time effort and then just toss all the work that you've done. So it's better to just invest a little bit more, get that workflow going, and then you can just use it over and over again. So that's been our mantra, and it's also our mindset. Because if we have this mindset, if our entire team has this mindset, then it's easy to spot those repetitive tasks that are better done through an automation. So let me show you one example of an automation that we created. This is a page scraper, and I created it using Claude AI. Now, Claude has turned out to be one of my favorite LLMs, especially because Claude is more conversational than, let's say, even ChatGPT or Perplexity. Claude actually understands what you're looking for. It understands the big picture, and then it also gives you suggestions. It's almost like a team player. It kind of gets back to you at the end of your query. It says, hey, would you like me to do this, this, and this? And then you can choose. And that's really nice because it's almost like adding a team member to your team without really paying for it. I mean, of course, you pay like 20 bucks a month for Claude, but it's really nice to have this this really nice LLM as your buddy. So here, for this scraper example, I'm just going to show some of the goals and the concepts behind what I'm trying to achieve here. So what I want to do is I want to take any Amazon page. So now this is a public facing page, right? These are details that are visible on any Amazon page. I want to scrape it for the ASIN, which is a unique identifier that basically describes a product on Amazon. And I want it to give me a list in some sort of pop-up box on top of my, the Amazon page, right? So for this, I actually started with a very simple prompt with Claude, which was, hey, build me a local HTML app that will take in an Amazon URL, create that page for ASINs, and then give me a list of URLs pointing to the ASIN with a certain format, like HTTPS, blah, blah, blah. So this was just my very simple starting prompt. However, when Claude came back, it actually advised that I should set up a Chrome bookmarklet instead of creating an HTML app, right? So what is a Chrome bookmarklet? This is just a bookmark that you can set up with your Chrome browser. So in your browser, you have the option to right-click on the browser bar and then just say add page. When you do that, you can actually create this kind of bookmark. So I just gave it a name, Amazon ASIN extractor with Claude. And then Claude actually gives you some code that you can put right into the URL. So this is a little hard to understand. It's kind of counterintuitive, but you're actually putting code right into this bar where it says URL. So there is no URL. It's just JavaScript code that runs in your browser. And what it does is that it scrapes everything that's on that page and reads certain markers. And those markers can be defined by you. In my case, that marker was ASIN. And so anything that starts with ASIN, it picks that up, it extracts it intelligently, and then it gives me a little pop-up on the top right of my screen. And it just gives me a list of all the ASINs. Now I want to show you the example right here. So I had, just put in some keyword blue eyeshadow, got a page full of a bunch of ASINs or listings. And then I just ran, that bookmarklet, and this is what it did. It just layered on this box, this pop-up box. By the time I produced this one, I already had a more evolved prompt, and I was asking it to give me the URL as well as the price. So it's extracting both those things from this page. Okay, let me show you a real example. So let me just type foundation and then here's my bookmark. And so now it's running in the background. You may not see it for a couple seconds, but once it's ready, it's going to pop up this list in the top right corner. And there it is. So it's found all of these ASINs, and it's also found their price points right here. It's picking it up right from these listings, and it's giving it to me. So I can just copy this now, either by dragging, or I can just say copy and then I can close. So it's now copied into my memory. So this is just a simple example of how you can do some repetitive tasks, such as having to kind of, manually scrape each of these listings and find out what their price is. Instead, you just use this method to create a bookmark, and that bookmark just functions almost like a Chrome plugin, even though it's not a plugin, it's just a bookmark, and it's running some JavaScript code on that page. So that was my first example. There's other possibilities. Like I said, there's a lot of markers in your browser page, such as price, which I already shared with you, but there's also other things like review count or rating, and so many more little details. So go ahead and experiment with this. Ask ChatGPT or Claude to produce a bookmark JavaScript that will do a certain thing, read from a certain page, and just give you a code that you can just add to your bookmark, and then you're done. You can just use that over and over again. Now, why do I use Claude AI? First of all, it excels at no-code app development. And what this means is that, you don't have to be a programmer to use Claude AI or to create code, right? Because all you need to do is describe your needs in as much detail as possible, and Claude actually does a very good job. It produces clean, functional code at the first try. It adapts intelligently to feedback and also pivots very quickly from complex to simple solutions when needed. It does not require any programming knowledge, and it's free for under a certain number of requests per day. But if you have a lot of requests, then it's $20 for unlimited requests. Now let me show you another example. So here I am going to generate a Google Apps Script with ChatGPT. So what is Google Apps Script? Google Apps Script is a piece of code, again, that can be attached to a Google Doc. It can be attached to a Google spreadsheet. It can also be attached to a Google Drive folder, etc. So what I'm doing here is I'm going to ask ChatGPT to generate Google Apps Script that does certain things, and it just sits on top of my Google App system and just automates those things for me. Just to give you a little bit more on Google Apps Script, this is a very tried and tested, mechanism for automation within Google. So it's already been there. It's been there longer than any LLM, right? However, the best thing is that this is well documented. So ChatGPT understands Google Apps Script, and so if you just say, "Hey, create this in Google Apps Script, it will create that for you and help you automate many, many tasks. Now, this is run in the cloud, so it runs directly in your browser, and it's already included in your Google Workspace subscription. So no extra setup is required. You don't need to download anything. You don't need to host anything anywhere. It's already there. So I'll explain a little bit more. Uh, First of all, let me show you where this app script is located. So you know how you have Google Drive here. Under the More button here, you can actually go and activate your Google App Script. You can just go and click here. Or you can even go into just your Google Sheet or Doc, and under Extensions, you will find the ability to activate Google App Scripts also. So let me show you an example. So I gave ChatGPT this prompt. You are tasked with building an email summarization system using Google Apps Script and OpenAI's GPT-4o mini model. The system will fetch emails from certain senders, specific senders within the past 24 hours. It'll then summarize their content and generate a daily digest. The summarized email content is then sent out as an HTML formatted email back to the user. So the use case for this is that, I get a lot of emails and I don't want to miss the important ones, right? So I would rather have a summary of all my emails from specific people that are constantly sending me like important stuff. So I don't want to miss it, right? So with this prompt, I actually got back a nice summarization email, JavaScript code, which is app script basically. And here on the top right, there's the ability to copy that code into memory, right? So let me show you how I can use that piece of code that I just copied out. When I activate my app script from Google Drive, right, I can just go in there and there's this space here that shows like function, my function, open parentheses, close parentheses, or curly braces and close curly braces. You basically just delete this, all of this, and then just paste what you just got back from ChatGPT, this one, right? You just get it and dump it here. And then you just have to save it and then run it, right? So this is the basic setup. Again, you don't need to understand any programming in order to use this kind of automation. Sometimes you will get errors because, of course, ChatGPT makes mistakes. All these large language models do make mistakes, but even if you do, the error codes are also fairly well understood. So if you can just copy those error codes and throw them back into ChatGPT, it'll tell you what the problem is and it'll fix it. And then it also gives you new code, which you can then just plug in here and then run it, right? So that's basically how you would operate, even though you don't understand programming and you don't understand what it's doing in the background. So this was just kind of the basic setup, but I want to explain one more thing. Over here on the bottom left side, there is like a clock or a alarm clock kind of icon. When you click this, this is something for triggers. Now, if you set your trigger up, this piece of code can actually run on a cadence. You can say run it once a day, run it once a week, once a month, whatever your cadence might be, even hours. You can even run it multiple times a day. And then your automation just simply runs at those hours without you having to do anything. Like you don't have to go and trigger this or say run. All you need to do is set up that trigger correctly, and then you're off to the races. So let me give you an example of how I have used this. So, for example, let's say I have 3 employees and they send me a lot of emails, and I want to make sure that I want to get all of their emails in a digest form. Now, if you look here, this is an email that was sent to me by this automation, and what it did was it basically searched for all of the email that had that had made it to my inbox, and of course, I gave it certain you know. Emails to look for. So I said, okay, give me Sharon's email, Sharon and 2 more people. And I said, okay, use these emails, find all the emails that they've sent me in the past 24 hours, then, pass that on to ChatGPT using an API, and then it would process whatever they said, and it gives me a summary of that email. But then it stacks it up with all of the other emails that have come from this person or any other people in that 24-hour period and gives me a digest. And that digest comes back to me in my inbox as a new email and says, this is what the this is the content of all the stuff that was discussed, right? So this is kind of a very cool way of saving you time. It's really good if you need specific reminders for certain tasks. I'm also using this method for certain other business critical processes. For example, when I run advertising or when my team runs advertising for our clients, oftentimes we want to pay attention to certain very important thresholds. For example, if the sales dropped by 25% compared to yesterday, or let's say the advertising cost of sales went up by 20%, or anything, basically anything that you know is business critical, you can set up an alert for yourself using this mechanism. And in the back end, you can connect that to any kind of backend such as BigQuery. BigQuery is also another one of Google's products, and BigQuery is a data warehouse where you can store data, and your data can actually can come in streaming into the BigQuery data warehouse, and this app script can read directly from BigQuery and give you an email into your in your inbox, basically. So that's a slightly more advanced use case. If you don't know what BigQuery is, don't worry about it. You can maybe read up on it, but it's fairly standard in it's used by a lot of agencies because first of all, it stores a lot of data, and it's also streaming data that you can connect. It's part of the Google ecosystem. So it's kind of easier for an app script to reach into any of Google systems like Docs that you've written, or Sheets that you've written, or BigQuery tables that you've generated. So all of those are accessible through Google Apps Script. Now, Google Apps Script was always there. So what's new? What's new is that people who don't understand programming, they can now start generating app script by just using ChatGPT and saying what they want, and it generates the code for it. So you see, it's like a two-step process. You're not using the automation directly from ChatGPT, but you're using the code that ChatGPT generates to then run an automation that's already been, fairly stable for a several number of years. So that's my second use case. And I'm going to now talk about my third use case, which is workflow automation. So for this, I'm going to use Make.com. You can also use Zapier or Flux Prompt. There's a bunch of different workflow automation software out there that are drag and drop based. So you don't really need to know, programming in order to make those workflows work. It's very visual. The whole layout is pretty visual, and you can actually get a lot done with it, right? So let me talk about the social media workflow automation with Make.com. So the idea here is that you want to create task chains, and the output of one task is feeding another task, right? So the way this works is that each of these different tasks need to have a way to talk to another task, right? So for example, if you have, let's say, a Google Drive folder, and this is the example that I'm going to share in just a second. Let's say you have a Google Drive folder where you're uploading images for your social media, right? And what you want to do is you want to be able to pick up that image from the drive. As soon as someone has uploaded an image to the Drive folder, you want to pick up that image. You want to take it to ChatGPT and say, hey, create a caption for it so that I can post on Facebook or Instagram or whatever. Caption is just, the text that goes along with that photo or for that image. And it can be easily automated without you doing anything other than having, that first trigger, which is uploading a file to a Google Drive folder. Now, even that can be automated, and this way you can kind of chain this whole thing up. You can keep building more and more of the chain till it becomes an even bigger automation workflow. But before we get too confused, let's just start with the basic flow. Let's just create a simple workflow that takes this input image and then creates like a Facebook post from it. So here is my prompt. So I said I have photos in a Drive folder. I would like them to be picked up one a day and then turned into a Facebook post with an attractive caption. I would like to keep track of which ones were posted and when, along with a photo file name and an AI generated caption in a Google Sheet. So not only am I posting this to Facebook, I'm also keeping track of it in a Google Sheet. So I know what was done when, and this way I have a record of everything that was done with those images. And of course, I'm saying build me a make.com workflow with step-by-step instructions. So what ChatGPT will do here is it is going to give me steps. It's going to tell me, okay, start with this module, then connect it with this module, and then connect it with this module. Now, this isn't easy by any means. It requires a little bit of practice, right? But once you get that practice and once you've figured out, how these modules work inside of make.com, then it becomes easier for you to see how those interfaces between different modules need to be set up, right? And that's what I did here with ChatGPT. I asked it to give me, to basically guide me through the steps of the whole process. Now, this is what I eventually ended up with. And I want to show you this very cool workflow. In fact, I'm going to just switch out of this and show you the workflow right here. So let me zoom in as much as I can. All right, so I think that's the maximum I'm able to go to here. So this over here is a Google Drive starting point, right? So this is where I'm going to pick up photos from, right? This is my folder, social photos for make.com, and I've just placed one photo here just for demonstration purposes. Then I have, the ability to kind of read that folder and generate a URL. And then I have this module called the iterator because it will iterate through a list of photos or their URLs. It'll go through this sequence one by one, right? So this is an iterator module. Then I have another way of converting that into an image, because the thing is that when you place something in a Google Drive folder, it doesn't always give you a clean URL with a JPEG or a PNG extension. In fact, it will almost always give you like a browser viewer for that image. It doesn't give you the actual image location, right? So there's a few steps here. I struggled with this a little bit, but I managed to figure it out eventually. But this is the part where I'm actually taking a Google Drive link and converting it into an actual image. So it requires a little bit of a download and upload step, which I don't need to do this on my computer. It just happens in the cloud. So there's a download upload step, and then that is interfaced right into the ChatGPT API. Now, this API, of course, you need to set an API. You need to set up your developer login with ChatGPT with OpenAI, and then you have to get this API key. So that's a paid thing, and you can load it up as much as you like. Like I just loaded it with $5. I still haven't run out of it because these queries are pretty cheap, right? So so what I've done is that I have extracted a API key, and what that does is that it allows make.com to easily pass the input or the output of this part of my workflow directly into ChatGPT along with the prompt. So I pass both of those things along to ChatGPT, and it processes whatever I sent it, in this case, it's an image. It processes that image, reads it, tries to figure out what it is, and tries to generate a caption, which is very cool, by the way. And it does it so that it's ready for Facebook. And then it sends back something which I can then route directly to Facebook. And this module is called the router because this action is actually going to two different places. So I need this kind of module which splits things up. One, it goes to Facebook and goes and updates that. Of course, I have to authenticate here one time, but once it's done, it's an automatic process. And then the other action it takes is that it records everything in a Google Sheet, which of course I have to set up once and pick up the URL of that Google Sheet and provide it here so that it knows where to go. The destination is clear in both cases. So now that I have one of these images uploaded, I'm going to actually run this workflow and show it to you. I have my Facebook account right here, and this is my image. Let me show it to you. So that's my image. Um, and then let me run this once. So I'm going to run this workflow. As you can see, it started working. It's going through, it's reached ChatGPT now, and it's doing the last step here. As you can see here is like a, there we go, and it's done, right? So now I'm going to go over to my Facebook. It might take a second, maybe. Let me just refresh it. Okay, and there it is. So the image that I just uploaded here and ran through the workflow, it has already generated a cool caption. It says, add a pop of color to your day with this handcrafted wonder, perfect for those who love to stand out and express their unique style, boldly beaded, handmade joy, colorful vibes. Now this is so cool. And my instruction or my prompt to ChatGPT was very simple. Like I didn't even say anything complicated. It was just like, take this image as input and give me a cool uh, prompt. Okay, or sorry, give me a cool caption. So that's basically how I set up this workflow. Now I can add another module here that will run this whole thing every day. Like it can just simply read whatever is in this folder every day, once a day. So imagine you can simply have your VA or whoever who's generating a bunch of social media posts to just create those images, load them up into a folder, and have the listener or the scheduler here just pick it up whenever it's time and then just post things for you. Right. So this is how you're going to use AI in the workflow right here and completely automate something that would have otherwise taken someone a bunch of effort, and if you just calculate how many minutes we saved every day, it adds up pretty quickly. So once you know how to create these workflows in make.com, then you can actually go and create more scenarios. So the starting point here is scenarios. You can create new scenarios, or you can take an existing scenario and then just copy it, make a clone of it, and then just build on it, right? I'd recommend you start small and then just layer it up with more and more kind of complex workflows that will then automate something bigger, right? So that's basically what I wanted to show you. So I just to summarize, I did three examples today. The first one was of creating a page scraper with the help of Claude, and I created a bookmarklet, which can be activated at any time. So you just need someone to go press it once a day or whenever. The second example I showed you was of using Google Apps Script and how I can use ChatGPT to generate that Apps Script code, which then runs on your Google system and does all kinds of cool things, right? And the third thing I showed you was a workflow automation where the output of one small process can become the input of another. You only need to set up the interfaces correctly using make.com. By the way, make.com has a lot of tutorials. There's a lot of people who are building very cool workflows and you don't want to miss out, right? And so far, the examples that I've shared are examples that I've created myself, and I'm on a mission to create hundreds of these, right? So, if you want to stay in touch, definitely follow me on LinkedIn. I'm Ritu Java, Ritujava. Like I said, I also have my own newsletter, which is packed every week with lots of good stuff. So definitely give me a follow over there. And at this time, we're also kind of looking at offering help in the form of any kind of advice or consultancy in case you're looking for automating any part of your workflow. And if you need automation, definitely scan that QR code. It's going to take you to a form, and you can kind of fill out, what kind of workflows you're thinking of, and we can take a look and see if those are possible or those are ones that we can help you with. So we're happy to help you and support you. So that's all from my side. Thank you so much. Once again, that's my QR code for the AI for e-commerce newsletter. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope this was valuable. And don't be afraid if you're still thinking about how to get started with AI, just do it. Just start anywhere. It doesn't matter, right? And there's so many people out there that are sharing their knowledge freely. It's great that you came to a conference like this because you're going to be getting like distilled information, things that people took hours and hours and hours to, test and fail and test again. You're getting all of that in a, bite-sized capsule, which is kind of cool. So, thank you so much for having me and stay in touch. Take care.